It's Thursday, October 3rd, 2024. A near record-setting viewership for the VP debate. Second gentleman Doug Emhoff is a terrible person, allegedly. And hats off to the University of Wyoming. Next on the AM Update. Tomorrow is another edition of Ask or Tell Me Anything. You can ask me any question you want, tell me any news story you think needs covered. Just make your submissions on my X profile at RealAMUpdate. Look for the pinned tweet, Ask or Tell Me Anything, tomorrow on the Friday edition. Now on with the Thursday edition. 67.3 million people watched Tuesday night's vice presidential debate between J.D. Vance and Tim Walz. That's a near record setter. The most who have ever watched a VP debate since this stuff was being tracked was the Palin-Biden debate of 2008. Back in 2020, the Pence-Harris vice presidential debate drew in a total of 57.9 million viewers. J.D. Vance, Tim Walz, 63, almost 64 million viewers. Both of those gentlemen reacted to how they thought the night went. Here's J.D. Vance.
Now, we of course had a debate last night, a vice presidential debate. I thought it went pretty well. I got to be honest, I feel a little bad for Governor Walz. And the reason I feel bad for him is because he has to defend the indefensible.
Tim Walz tried to clarify once more what he meant by saying he was in China during the Tiananmen Square massacre.
Yeah, look, I have my dates wrong. I was in Hong Kong and China in 1989. That move from Hong Kong into China, it was profound for me. That was the summer of democracy. I said it's where I understood how sacred democracy was.
So Tim Walz trying to clarify what he meant and his gaffe last night, or I should say Tuesday night at the vice presidential debate on whether he was or was not in China during the Tiananmen Square massacre. 63.7 million people watched him make that gaffe, and he's not making it any better the day after. According to the Daily Mail, second gentleman Doug Emhoff is accused of physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend. This is coming just days after MSNBC host Jen Psaki said Emhoff was, quote, reshaping masculinity. According to the Daily Mail, Emhoff hit a woman so hard that she physically spun around. New details also reveal that Emhoff allegedly caused his nanny to have a miscarriage after impregnating her. Three sources who spoke with the outlet says Emhoff got jealous that his girlfriend at the time was talking with another man. The incident allegedly happened in the valet line after a May 2012 Cannes Film Festival event in France. The incident has been confirmed by three friends. Those three friends also claim Emhoff admitted to his ex-girlfriend that he impregnated his children's nanny and, quote, caused her to have a miscarriage. Other reports say that he paid or made her have an abortion. Here is Jen Psaki, former White House press secretary, now MSNBC host, talking to Doug Emhoff just recently.
Important part, an interesting part of how people have talked about your role here is how your role has reshaped the perception of masculinity. And I'm not sure you planned on that, but you are an incredibly supportive spouse. Has that been an evolution for you? And do you think that's part of the role you might play as first gentleman?
It's funny. I've started to think a lot about this. I've always been like this. My dad was like this. And
yikes. Again, Doug Emhoff, first gentleman, that's Kamala Harris's husband, being accused via sources speaking to the Daily Mail of physically assaulting his ex-girlfriend at the Cannes Film Festival. Online personality Taylor Lorenz faced brutal online mockery after announcing she would be leaving the Washington Post in order to strike it out on her own. The technology columnist was under investigation for an Instagram story in which she called President Joe Biden a quote-unquote war criminal, ostensibly for supporting Israel in its military action against the Hamas terrorist group. On Tuesday, she announced her exit from the Post. She wrote, quote, I'm going independent and launching my own media outlet on Substack called User Mag. Please consider buying a yearly subscription to help me continue my work. Lorenz is, of course, best known for waging a rhetorical war against many on the right, most notably the Libs of TikTok account, which Lorenz has accused of inciting violence and terrorism. She's called on social media platforms to cancel many accounts on the right for refusing to parrot the politically correct narratives endorsed by the far left. She continued to support coronavirus lockdown measures long after the end of the pandemic, including the wearing of face masks, which, to my knowledge, she does to this day. Taylor Lorenz departing the Washington Post. Good riddance. For the second time in the past week, a women's college volleyball team has refused to compete against San Jose State, which has a dude playing in its starting lineup. The University of Wyoming announced in a statement that the team would forfeit its Saturday match against San Jose State, which has a biological male, a dude, named Blair Fleming on its team. Last week, Boise State forfeited against San Jose State, accepting a loss in the process. Previously, Southern Utah refused to face San Jose State in a non-conference match as part of the Santa Clara tournament. The school announced in a statement, quote, "After a lengthy discussion, the University of Wyoming will not play its scheduled conference match against San Jose State University at the Uniwyo Sports Complex on Saturday, October 5th. This is a change in the stance for the Wyoming Cowgirls, who previously expressed that they would compete against the Spartans. Wyoming Governor Mark Gordon posted a message in support of the team on X saying, quote, "I am fully in support of the decision by Wyoming Athletics to forego playing its volleyball match against San Jose State. It's important we stand for integrity and fairness in female athletics." So again, for the second time in a week, that's two universities, two women's volleyball teams who are not playing against a team with a dude on it. That would be Wyoming and Boise State. Hats off to those schools. The only way out of training madness is through, and the fastest way through is for women and these athletic departments to just say no. Customers using Bank of America reported having trouble accessing their bank accounts on Wednesday. Reports of problems spiked around noon Eastern time when about 20,000 outages were reported, according to the website Down Detector. People are complaining that their account balances were not visible on the app, while others say they could access their accounts, but they're seeing a balance of $0. As of 3:30 Eastern time yesterday, reports from Down Detector showed some improvement with around 3,600 outages reported. That's the second mysterious outage just this week alone, and it follows outages earlier this week. Earlier this week, Verizon Wireless had major outages from Los Angeles to New York and pretty much all points in between. What's mysterious about that outage is that the company was incredibly opaque, not clear at all about how many users were affected and what the cause of the trouble was. Really mysterious stuff. I don't think the Bank of America and Verizon outages are necessarily related, especially the Verizon thing, given how untransparent they were. Something nefarious is happening. And finally, the International Longshoremen's Association, that is the union that oversees nearly 40% of U.S. dock or sea imports, is on strike from Maine to Texas. Their president, Harold Daggett, you might have seen this video going around, discusses why exactly he's going on strike and putting his union at risk.
But today's world, it's changing into the future. They're not making millions no more. They're making billions. And they're spending it fast as they make it. I want a piece of that for my men. Because when they made their most money was during COVID. When my men had to go to work on those piers every single day. When everybody stayed home and went to work. Not my men. They died out there with the virus. We all got sick with the virus. We kept them going. From Canada to Maine to Texas, Great Lakes, Puerto Rico, now the Bahamas, everybody went to work during COVID. Nobody stayed home. Well, I want to be compensated for that. I'm not asking for the world. They know what I want. They know what I want. And if they don't, well, then I have to go into the street and we have to fight for what we rightfully deserve. These people today don't know what a strike is.
Right.
When my men hit the streets, from Maine to Texas, every single port will lock down. You know what's going to happen? I'll tell you. First week, be all over the news every night, boom, boom. Second week, guys who sell cars can't sell cars because the cars ain't coming in off the ships. They get laid off. Third week, malls start closing down. They can't get the goods from China. They can't sell clothes. They can't do this. Everything in the United States comes on a ship. They go out of business. Construction workers get laid off because the materials aren't coming in. The steel's not coming in. The lumber's not coming in. They lose their job. Everybody's hating the longshoremen now because now they realize how important our jobs are. Now I have the president screaming at me, "I'm putting a Taft-Hartley on you." Go ahead. Taft-Hartley means I have to go back to work for 90 days. That's a cooling off period. Do you think when I go back for 90 days, those men are going to go to work on that pier? It's going to cost the companies money to pay their salaries. Well, they went from 30 moves an hour maybe to 8. They're going to be like this. Who's going to win here in the long run? You're better off sitting down and let's get a contract and let's move on with this world. And in today's world, I'll cripple you. I will cripple you, and you have no idea what that means. Nobody does.
So that is Harold Daggett, the president of the International Longshoremen's Association, discussing why he's going on strike and why he's potentially crippling, in his words, the U.S. economy. Now, there are several factors at play here. One, I don't have necessarily a negative view towards labor unions. Do they run out of control? Do they have a history of running out of control sometimes? Yes. Trying to basically strong arm and extort people? Yes. But there's a number of factors here that I think we need to consider. Is it true that the World Economic Forum and those who subscribe to such futurist and globalist machinations, is it true that if they could, they would pretty much automate every single job done by a human today? Yes, I believe they absolutely would. Is it true that human dignity is placed at a level beyond, or should be placed at a level beyond, automation? Yes. But there are also some other factors here. Elsewhere in that interview that you just heard from Harold Daggett, he expresses great frustration with one Joe Biden. That was interesting in and of itself, but he also expresses concern that his workers are all going to be put out of work by automation, by machines doing the jobs of humans. Now, do I believe that he actually believes that's what he's fighting for? I don't think so. This dude has a multi-million-dollar mansion. In that interview, he's wearing a gold chain around his neck. This dude is just a thug, or at least the messaging that he's pursuing makes him sound as such. Additionally, this is not being reported as much, but according to the Associated Press, the union is looking for a 77% pay increase. 77%. And how he's messaging that is that he's extorting 380-some million people in this country if he doesn't get what he wants. He says, all of your prices are going to go up. You're going to have shortages of everything if I don't get my guys a 77% pay increase. That is extortion. That is wrong. It's also wrong to replace all those jobs with automation. That's why we have to remember here, this is a two-way street. As far as I'm aware, yes, the longshoremen's, they make pretty good money. They also have pretty rough jobs and jobs that you need to depend on for an economy like this. 40% of U.S. imports, at least over the oceans, are the responsibility of the longshoremen. This is a terrible situation, and this illustrates why nobody wants to touch this political football, at least not take a strong side one way or another. So I want you to remember that as you're thinking through this issue. Yeah, they do have a point. They don't want to be automated. They don't want to have their jobs replaced. On the same token, what they're doing is extorting the American people for a 77% pay increase. Neither of those options are good. Hopefully, cooler heads prevail and they can meet somewhere closer in the middle. That'll do it for today. Don't forget, Ask or Tell Me Anything tomorrow. Make your submissions at Real AM Update on X. Look for the pinned tweet, and we'll see you tomorrow. I'm Aaron McIntyre, and this is the AM Update.